All right, guys, we're back. I think the audio wasn't working for some reason. Oh, crap. It's not working still. What do we do?
Can you go back and play the first part and see where it cut off?
Okay. Or maybe go live on my phone like we used to do.
Yeah, you could try that too.
What is up, y'all?
Okay, so
What is up?
okay, so it was working then. I guess it just wasn't showing up on the screen for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we just have to kind of hope that it's working, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's acting weird, but we're just gonna have to hope it's working, man. I don't know. Okay, let's just get back to the top 10 then.
Okay.
We're at number 3. Super Bowl 52 Philly special.
As we're saying, the amazing thing about this play was it involved Nick Foles, who actually has just led his team back to the playoffs in place of Carson again. They made it. Minnesota choked, but that's a story for another day. But for this play in particular, it was Nick Foles, the guy who had led his team all the way to the Super Bowl and was playing in the Super Bowl. It was Nick Foles, backup quarterback, and then you had Wendell Smallwood, undrafted running back, and you had Trey Burton, the tight end, who threw the touchdown pass. Was also third string undrafted. So the collection of players made it special, and then also the situation in which it was done in. 4th and goal at the end of the half, trying to
change the game too.
Trying to, the guts to call it, trying to just go out and win the game, not settling for anything less than touchdowns.
Yeah,
that was why Philly won the game. They had that mentality, and that's what you got to have to beat New England. You can't kick field goals and beat a team like Brady, especially in the Super Bowl. Just an amazing play in general. The collection of players and the situation. It was all fantastic.
In terms of that Super Bowl, looking back on it, I just think that Nick Foles didn't get all the love he deserved from the way he performed. He performed on a extremely high level. Something about his game, he's always performed well in the big games. And just throughout his career, like when it's just regular season, just regular, he's not nearly as good. But when it's time to get clutch, he always comes through.
Yeah.
And there's just something to be said about that, and I think he just deserves a lot more credit than he got.
And there's something about the Philadelphia offense that just clicks with Nick Foles.
Right.
Like, their offense is extremely effective or extremely hot with Nick Foles in the game. We've seen it the past couple of weeks of this season, and we saw it in the postseason last year. So there's just something about it.
And I wouldn't say that against the Falcons he played all that great, but he did what he needed to do. You know, you can't expect much more from a guy that was backing up the entire year. You know, he did what he needed to do. He won the game, and then of course again in a flawless game.
Yep.
And then of course in the Super Bowl he just played the game of his life. So
pretty amazing.
Yeah.
You can do number 2.
All right. Number 2 is Tiger Woods winning the Tour Championship. And just the reason that we have it at number 2 is because he is the most polarizing figure of, you know, just in like in a sports like community, he is the most polarizing a figure that a sport can have.
Yeah, there's no one that moves the needle more for their particular sport. There's no athlete that moves the needle more for their particular sport than Tiger Woods does for golf. And it's not even close.
It's just not. And just the scene with him walking up the 18th fairway.
Oh my God.
That's a moment for the ages.
Mm-hmm. With all those people behind him.
Yep.
Him and Rory, I believe he was in the final pairing, was it, with Rory McIlroy?
Yeah, with Rory.
And them kind of interacting, laughing with each other. All those people behind him, walking up to the 18th green. Just to think this guy was at the lowest point you can ever, you know, in the dark basically, not ever knowing if he would ever play golf again. Just 17 months after fusion surgery for his back, and then 16 months after we saw him hit absolute rock bottom, and we saw that mugshot following his arrest for suspicion of DUI. Just the pain he was in. There were reports at times he couldn't walk because the pain was that bad. He had to crawl, couldn't play with his kids, had pain constantly shooting up and down his back and leg. The 4 surgeries to his back, the 4 surgeries to his leg. Just what the dude has gone through, and then to be able to come back and not only win this event, but compete in the events prior the way he did, like to put on the show he put on at the Open.
In the PGA?
Yeah, in the PGA when he went head to head with Koepka. It was just amazing. And to see him win his 80th tournament in his career, in his first in 1,876 days, honestly, you could put it at number 1 and no one could argue, because this is just probably the greatest story in sports also. Yeah. Not just the greatest moment. Probably, definitely the greatest story, I would say. But
yeah. Part of me does want to put it number 1, but but
everything.
But it's all of these moments are great. The order is up for debate, but all of them will be remembered.
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm.
And just, I think I had talked with you at some point in the summer of 2017, and I was just like talking to you, like worried for his life, like just like the rest of his days, he won't be able to be happy. He won't be able to be mobile at all, you know? And now he's playing golf at the highest level.
Exactly.
So it's just a complete shift.
In a year and a half, he went from rock bottom, not knowing if he would ever play the sport again. Just even play the sport, not even on tour, just even get out, go play around on his own, to winning the tour championship and competing in those major championships and almost winning them.
Yeah.
No one would have ever predicted this. It was amazing.
Yeah.
There are no words to describe what he's been through and what he accomplished doing this. I mean, it was.
Yeah. And the craziest part is 2019 maybe even better for him.
Oh yeah.
Because he hasn't even scratched the surface of what he used to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like he just learned how to finish again.
Mm-hmm.
So he's just like he's not even on the cusp of anything. Like he's still not even close to what he used to be. So even if he just gets a little of it back, he'll be winning a major next year.
It's like the second chapter of his career.
Yeah.
Started.
Really, it's probably like the third or fourth.
Yeah.
Just a twilight stage. Just see if he can finish it on a high note. I know he wants to break Jack Nicklaus's record, but even if he comes up short, just winning one more major, to me, he's the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
But that's a conversation for another day. Do you want to move on?
Is that all you have to say? I said all I needed to say.
Yeah, I think we hit on everything there. We all know Tiger is just when he's on, there's not anybody in the world that can stop him when he's on. Nope. Still. And he's
what, 41, 42?
Yeah. It's crazy.
Fantastic. And then number one, we put the Minnesota Miracle. This was in the divisional round of last year's playoffs. It was the Minnesota Vikings and the New Orleans Saints in Minnesota. Fourth quarter, 10 seconds to go. Case Keenum.
40 yards downfield to Diggs. Yep. Just a jump ball. Yep. And most, like, even if he did caught it, you'd think he would be forced to go out of bounds and just see if there was time left to kick a field goal. But he stayed on his feet and he took it to the house. And it's just now that I'm really rethinking, I feel like Tiger should be number one.
Yeah.
But let's just give this moment what it's worth. You know, it's a 1 in a million type of play. You know, it's in a million scenarios the Saints would win that game, but only one Minnesota would win, and they got that one scenario.
Yep. The catch, the awareness of where he was on the field to stay in bounds and go score a touchdown, the throw, the whole story behind the year Minnesota had last year with Case Keenum as their quarterback.
What would make it a bigger story is if New Orleans goes out and wins the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah.
Because if they came back from that to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But overall, I just think that the improbableness of that entire situation is just what made it so incredible. And just watching it live, I just couldn't believe it at all. I just remember thinking how the heck did he not make that tackle? Like, what?
There are some moments in life or just in sports in general where you see it and you're like, okay, 10 years down the road or 20 years down the road, I'll remember what I was doing at that moment in time when that whatever happened. I'll remember where I was, what I was doing, where I was watching, all that stuff. You just remember the situation because the situation is so significant. That's one of those plays where, especially Vikings fans, whether you were at the game or at home doing something, you'll remember where you were when that play occurred.
Yeah.
That was,
or even Saints fans, really.
Yep. Or just NFL fans in general.
Yeah.
I was speechless when I saw it. So
yeah, I just the call from Joe Buck made it better also.
Yep.
Man, it was an unbelievable play.
But I think we can say, looking back on this, we'd probably put Tiger number 1.
I agree.
And then drop the Minnesota Miracle to number 2.
Right. Yeah.
So that concludes our list of the top 10 American sports moments of 2018. Aside from World Cup.
Yeah.
So what's next on the docket?
All right. We're going to talk some college football. And then after that, we may or may not, like I said, have Matthew Benedict and Jake Rubin joining the show. But no guarantee on that. But we'd love to have them if they do. But we can just get right into the college football, I think, then.
Okay.
Or we can wait and do the college football with them and then do our contender, pretender NBA.
Whatever you want to do.
Let's do the NBA talk. Let's do our NBA talk.
All right.
Let me pull up the standings. Got it right here. As of today, what is it? January 2nd, 2019 at 10 o'clock. It changes all the time. So Milwaukee is the number 1 seed at the moment. Then Toronto, then Indiana, then Philly, then Boston. And then for me, that's where the main teams ends in the East. And it's shown in their records as well. The rest of the teams are 500 and below.
Okay.
And then out west, you have Denver, Golden State, Oklahoma City, then Houston climbing the ranking, and then LA Clippers, LA Lakers, Spurs, Sacramento, and then that's the end, I feel like, for relevant teams. You can throw in Utah because they can get hot at some point, but right now they're 12th in the West.
Okay.
In terms of our contenders, pretenders, we'll include the top 5 in the East, and then I'd say you could really do it with all 8 in the West, but we'll only pick maybe 6 of them, I'd say. And then we're just going to determine, based on their resumes this year, whether they're really contenders, really a threat to make a run for the finals, or whether they're just pretenders and they'll choke in the playoffs.
Okay, so
let's start out east.
Okay.
I'm going to start with Indiana.
Okay. What's their record?
25-12.
All right.
currently 1 game back of the 2 seed, 2 games back of the 1 seed. And looking at them, they've had the second easiest schedule in the NBA, but they've had to win games without Victor Oladipo, which to me helps, because that shows me that this is a complete team. They play defense. They play as a team. They have a lot of team chemistry. This is mostly the same group returning from last year that took LeBron James and Cleveland to 7 games last year. So I think if Victor Oladipo performs the way he did in the playoffs last year, I feel like this team can make the second round, but to me, that's probably their ceiling.
Yeah.
For me, the reason for that would be just because they just don't have the same firepower that, say, a Boston or a Toronto would bring to the table. And to think if they played Toronto, Kawhi would be on Oladipo. There would just need to be somebody to step up to the plate, you know?
Yeah. I agree. In terms of the past month, right? The month of December, this last month.
Right.
Indiana has been, I'd say, the hottest team in basketball. In terms of the month of December, they were a league best 12-3. And I think they closed that 15-game stretch on a 5-game winning streak. I'm not sure if that winning streak is still alive, but they were hot, and their defense has actually gotten better since the season started. In the month of December, they held teams to 99.3 points per game, first in the league. They held opponents 42% from the field, that's also first in the league, and 31% from deep, that's second in the NBA. Their opponents averaged 16.7, so basically 17 turnovers per game. That ranks fourth in terms of forcing turnovers, and their opponents only attempted 19 free throws per game. That ranks second in the NBA. So their defense as a whole, led by the elite paint protection of Miles Turner, defensive versatility, a guy who gets overlooked, Thaddeus Young at the 4, and a collection of a team players that are not necessarily real star players aside from Oladipo, but they buy into the system.
Right.
They don't have a player like a Paul George or Kawhi to lock down any of the other team's best players, but they play a collective style defense, a style of team defense, and they might do it better than any other team in the NBA, and the stats show it. In terms of the playoffs, which is really what we're talking about here, right? Because it's only December, and things change. A lot of things can change between now and May or whenever the playoffs start.
Right.
But I would agree with you. I don't think they're going to have enough to come up with the firepower they will need in order to beat Toronto, not only once or twice, but 4 times in a series. And then also even a team like Boston, who may not be, in the greatest place right now where we thought they'd be at the beginning of the season, our predictions. But even to come up with enough points to beat them 4 times, that's going to be tough. Just the overall depth of that team, and then even Philly. Where do they go to, guard Jimmy Butler?
Right.
Who stops Ben Simmons? Will they be able to keep Joel Embiid out of the paint? That's going to be a big test for Miles Turner if that's the matchup. There's just too many teams in the East that create too many problems for Indiana, and that's why they probably won't be able to get to the finals. Right. But I think in every series they'll be in, it'll be competitive. They'll win their first round series probably. They'll probably might even get home court to the first round. And then I don't know if they'll win their second round series, but I think if they're in, it'll be 6-7 games.
Right.
They'll definitely make it competitive because they're experienced and they play together.
Right.
And that's something other people. So.
Yeah, that's definitely what they have over other teams for sure. And you got to give a lot of credit to Nate McMillan here.
For sure.
Because this team is extremely well coached. It's like not even funny. It's just
that's part of it.
Fundamentally sound team basketball. Next team, let's do Philly next.
Okay. Who want to start with your take on Philly?
I'll start. My take on Philly is just, can they get enough production from their bench throughout a 7-game series to push them over the top? Because we saw on Christmas Day, they attack with Boston, even with a red-hot Kyrie Irving. And that's as hot as Kyrie Irving is going to get, and they still almost won the game. That's very encouraging. But in the entire first half, they didn't get one bench point. I don't think they got a bench point until late in the third.
Yeah.
So that's really concerning because there's going to be games where Ben Simmons is off. There's going to be games where Embiid is off. There's going to be games when Jimmy Butler is off. And then if that happens, who do you go to?
Yeah. It's kind of, in a way, the same as in the Indiana situation.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of their bench, their starting lineup's great. You have Embiid putting up fantastic numbers, 26.5 points per game, shooting 65% from the field. You have JJ Redick, always is going to be a good role player. You have Jimmy Butler, who they acquired in that trade, who's averaging 18, shooting 88% from the free throw line. Ben Simmons, who doesn't have a jump shot yet, but when he won, maybe one of the best players in the league. He's averaging 16. They did give away Covington and Saric in the trade to get Butler, but they still have Wilson Chandler. I believe that was a good pickup. Mm-hmm. He's averaging only 6.5, which is kind of surprising, but his impact is shown
not in the box score,
not really in the numbers,
right?
A guy but I look at this team and I just think, where's the production going to come from off the bench? Can guys like TJ McConnell and Mike Muscala and whoever else they have on that bench, Landry Shamet, can they step up in the big moments when the starting lineup is struggling and produce at the rate that other teams are going to be producing, like Toronto and Boston? Can they do that? If they can get production from their bench, watch out. But that's the big question.
Right.
And for that reason, I don't, as of now, see them going past, I don't know if I want to say second round or Eastern Conference Finals. They may get there, but they're going to have to show me something more before I can consider them a real finals contender.
Right. There's still time for them to pick up someone off the waiver wire.
For sure.
For me, I know it would bring a lot of drama into the locker room, but a team like Philly, I feel like, could benefit from bringing in Carmelo Anthony because they already play defense. You know, I feel like they can make up for Carmelo's shortcomings on the defensive end with all the talent they have defensively. And it would help them because they just need an anchor, a ball handler to run the offense in the bench unit. And you can say that's TJ McConnell if you want to. Yeah. TJ McConnell's solid. He's a hustle player. But I just don't think he'll be enough to run the offense in a playoff setting.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So we can move on to the next team.
Next team. Let's do Boston next.
Okay, perfect.
Boston, they are 22-15 as of right now. They've underachieved, you could say, so far, but we knew it would take time, and they're starting to show signs of improvement now that they have Marcus Morris back and Al Horford back. The key here with Boston is the fact that they do have Kyrie Irving and Jason Tatum, and they have that experience in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. That's so huge. But really, what makes them a finals contender and not the other teams is just depth. You know?
Yeah.
If you just look at the point guard position, Kyrie Irving, Marcus Smart, Terry Rozier, those are 3 starting caliber players in the NBA.
Yeah.
And just they're starting to play better together as a team. I feel like they're starting to find where their roles are. It's a lot different than it was last year with all the injuries and with Terry Rozier stepping up into a more star role.
Yeah.
But I feel like this year the biggest thing is how each player on that team just needs to ask themselves, how can I help this team win, and just put their ego aside. Yeah. I'm not saying any of them have a crazy ego because they don't, but I know there's a part in them that is saying like, I deserve more minutes, you know, because that's just how it is in the NBA.
Yep.
But they just need to be in a team mindset, and that's what would push them over the top if they were to make the finals.
Yeah. The scary thing to me about this team is the fact they have Gordon Hayward coming off their bench.
Right.
That's an all-star player when he's at his best coming off the bench.
Right.
Tonight against the Timberwolves, I'm reading this now, he had 35 points on 14 of 18 shooting, and Terry Rozier had 16 points, 5 assists, and 5 steals. The Celtics beat the Timberwolves 115-102. I think if Hayward gets in the rhythm like he did tonight, like he showed tonight, like if he starts to contribute more than he's contributing now, I believe he's only averaging like 10 and a half points per game. If he can up that to like 12, 13, maybe even 14 points per game, Boston's going to be scary, and I think they're a contender come playoff time. The experience they have, all the depth that they have, and if you look at it, if Hayward heats up, they're going to be tough to beat because they're going to have a guy who's an all-star coming off their bench, something probably no other team in the league will have come playoff time.
Right.
And if you look at the numbers, the Celtics are 8-2 in games where Hayward scores 14 or more points. When he's 10 or fewer, they're 9-9.
Wow.
So if he returns to 100% health, which I think he is, but you never know.
Yeah, it takes time.
an injury like that takes a long time.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a while to get back into a rhythm. But come April or May, if he's balling out like something, 14, 15 points per game, getting production, Terry Rozier's doing what he did last year in the playoffs, and you have that starting lineup with Horford, very experienced, Tatum, Irving, who I believe is hurt right now, but
and then Marcus Smart and
just hard-nosed, great coach, play good defense, play great team basketball, have a bunch of depth. They're a contender, and they'll be even more scary if Gordon Hayward starts to play like he did tonight.
Right. We keep thinking of the matchup they would be against Toronto, obviously. And that's the crazy thing about this team, because Toronto getting a guy like Kawhi, like, that's where Nick Nurse would have a decision to make. Like, who is he going to guard? It's like it would be different at different times. You'd have to put him on throw him on some Tatum, maybe throw him on Hayward. Like, it would be different in different moments, because anyone on that Boston team can at any time.
Yeah.
So that would be interesting for me to see. That would be the most interesting part for me.
That'd be a great series.
Yeah, it would.
Probably good 7 games. You see that Kawhi put up 45, 22 shooting.
Yeah, the way Kawhi scores is just a trip to me. Like, he just has his little he shoots mid range. He gets to the basket, puts up a little layup, and then you look at the box score, and all of a sudden he's got 30. Like, what? Like, he gets his. I know this is gonna hurt, but so Tim Duncan like, in a way, just not flashy at all. Just so sound that you just can't hear it.
But it works.
Yeah, it 100% works. I didn't. I think more players need to go to that.
Like when he puts up 30 or 35, he's not doing it in a way you see Russell Westbrook do it. He's doing it on.
And if you look at a player like Russell Westbrook, if he would just implement just a few moves that Kawhi has into his game, he would be a lot better. But that's another day. I'm getting off topic.
Yeah.
With Boston, I agree with you. They're 100% a contender.
Yeah.
With that, I think we can move on then. Last team we're going to cover in the East, the Toronto Raptors. No. 2 more teams to cover in the East. My bad. We still have Milwaukee. Forgot about Milwaukee.
Forgot about Milwaukee.
Yeah.
You want to go first?
You go first this time. I'll wait for a couple times.
All right. The record, what? What's their record?
Their record is 26-10. They're first in the conference.
So the record tells you they're a contender.
Mm-hmm.
Now I only, as of now, have to say they are.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's questions with, be able to keep up what he's doing now in the playoffs. But I believe that this team, the way that they play this year in comparison to last, putting up more threes, playing the style of basketball that is meant for today's NBA, I believe they lead the league in 3-point shots taken and maybe even made. they're playing a style of basketball that's meant for today's NBA, and that will keep them alive come playoff time when they have to play teams like Boston and Toronto. They play good defense, and they have a player as good as Giannis who can take over a game in the. I don't really watch Milwaukee to know enough, but I know they have. I'd say two, and then obviously Giannis, and some great role players: Brogdon, Bledsoe, Lopez. Who else?
Connaughton.
And yeah, he's showing up in the past couple games.
Oh, the guy they drafted, DiVincenzo, right? Mm-hmm.
When he gets hot, you never know what can happen. So
Right. And just
fantastic job.
yeah, 100%.
The way this team plays, they share the basketball. They shoot well from three. They're good in the paint. They're efficient. They don't turn the ball over very often. They do everything you need to win in the playoffs.
Right.
I think they're a contender. What do you think?
I'm gonna go with pretender on this one.
Okay.
Because I love their style.